guys, and welcome to Tori Bash Takeover. This is Dr. Hacks, and today I'm going to be doing a Tori Bash Takeover Tori Rant number 2. This was suggested by the player Destram, and the staff member Destram, actually. And he just said that he really likes this sort of series because, let me stabilize the laptop here. That he likes the series because it's kind of like a podcast. He doesn't necessarily have to look at me or the video, which I completely understand. However, it gives him something to listen to while he's playing and stuff like that, and I can see how a lot of people might be using Tori Bash, Tori Rants as that, and that's kind of a different collection of video output than some of the other content that I create, so I see the validity in making more Tori Rants, and I wanted to make more Tori Rants anyway, so anyway, shout out to Destram. This video is kind of to him because he posed the first question, and I'm going to provide the answer. I'm sorry. I'm messing with my new mouse, the CLG Razer Death Adder, which I love. So pretty. And if you haven't noticed, obviously by now, I'm wearing my Gunner optics because I've been looking at the computer screen all day, playing Tori Bash, studying, etc. Alright, let's get right to it. Destram's question became, I want general tips, basically. I want general tips and mods like Wushu and Lenshu and all the varieties of basic competitive skillful mods. And that's a really hard thing to do. The reason why that's a really, really hard thing to do is because everything is so situational. But I do have one tip that I think stands above the rest, and that's know your opponent. When you watch a player play, he will follow patterns. They try not to, but everyone usually is playing in what they all consider their comfort zone. It's a certain style of play. People have certain preset answers. Whether they know it or not, people have certain preset answers to how to address problems. If they're going to DQ because the front of their pelvis is going to touch the ground and they already have their hips extended and their glutes extended and they're falling forward, they have their answer to how they're going to fix that. Are they going to lower are they the type of person to lower one shoulder or two shoulders? Two shoulders and contract both hips, or just contract one hip? Contract either glutes, both glutes, no glutes. Are they going to do anything with their elbows? Any contractions? People follow set patterns towards addressing problems. Maybe they vary a little bit, but their overall play style typically doesn't change much, even if they try to. People are very rarely willing to go outside of their comfort zone to learn. Or they just find that they want to further improve upon their own playstyle, so they don't see a need to dive into another one. So with that being said, a huge tip of mine involving knowing thy opponent is play judo fracture. This is a biased tip, but deal with it. Here's my reasoning. In a game, you have to be able to evaluate, as a general tip, you have to be able to evaluate what sort of options the other player has. Let me turn this off because I know that I got the reflection going here. What type of options does the other player have? What offensive capabilities is he capable of right now? What can he do? What's his potential? So that's really hard to figure out when there are so many variables going on at once. However, judo fracture removes these variables. It removes these variables in a very simple way. It removes the joint. When a joint becomes fractured, you can no longer use it. You can no longer manipulate it. So now you have more time to look at the opponent and really understand, what can't he do? What does he definitely need his shoulder for? What does he definitely need one of his pecs for? What does he definitely need one of his hips for? What does he definitely need one of his wrists for? So judo fracture gives you that leniency that would otherwise be accomplished by increasing the reaction time to 30, 40, 50, whatever, by taking a second and before you do anything with your character, spin the camera around and look at what they can't do. Look at how you would be screwed if you were them right now, and then make your move. Now, that's kind of like the beginner's mode of understanding the opponent's capability, but it's a great place to start. Once you've removed someone's shoulders, for example, if they don't have shoulders, try saving yourself when you're upside down. It's damn near impossible. So you learn stuff about that. If you've ever been in a tripod war in like Aikido Big Dojo, where you're both like setting up tripods, you're both trying to point hold, etc., etc., etc. What tipped you overboard? Now imagine if that joint is gone. Does that mean if you enter a tripod war now, you'll just straight up win? If it does, force them into a tripod war. So that's my biggest tip is focus on what the opponent can do and then work. As a general tip. Obviously, I say things like in wushu, stay low to the ground, but in bakushu, that's not a very important tip because you can generate momentum other places rather than just pushing off the floor. Typically, when I say stay low to the ground, it's because you can generate the most change in direction, force, and speed because you can push off the ground to get equal and opposite force in a different direction. However, if there's another element that you can interact with in order to generate force, like using a grab or pushing off of a box or whatever it may be, it completely changes the dynamics of the mod and how force can be generated. All right. I mean, if you want a really other like general tips, I mean, there's some silly stuff like contracting your wrists in Aikido Big Dojo, or don't let yourself get false grabbed in Aikido Big Dojo, or any other mod. If you don't know what a false grab is, go to my video, grab mechanics, the secret I just spoiled, or whatever the topic's called. But it's basically showing that when I grab you if both of our hands are grabbing, then my left hand is grabbing your right hand, but your right hand is free to still grab. And your left hand's grabbing my right hand, but my right hand's still free to grab. It's basically what that means. Because a lot of mods, you get a huge advantage from letting go at the right time because your opponent could not have not letting go, and you knew that. So you let go as well. That's the best way to describe it. Some other things I wanted to touch base on. GM tournaments and events. So I get a lot of times when I watch people host GM tournaments, a lot of people are complaining about prizes from time to time. Or they make a huge ass out of themselves when they lose. And they start blaming a lot of things other than themselves. But they make a huge spectacle out of themselves like, oh my god, this is the worst tournament ever. Holy hell, why did you host an icicle grab tournament? Every tournament that GMs ever host ever needs to be MLG esport quality, MLG, 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 MLG. Oh my gosh. Well, it doesn't, okay? GM tournaments are not invented specifically for you. They're not invented specifically so we can exhibit the highest level of competitive play. Because more than likely, if you're the type of whiny person to be complaining like that you lost in a GM tourney, fighting over some Shia tokens, you probably wouldn't have been invited to a high-level competition. That being said, you need to take things from the GM perspective and freaking respect them. Because they are volunteer workers. I promise you, despite the new salary and stuff that Risk implemented that I talked about with Risk in our interview together, the GMs are not, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is a get-rich-really-damn-slow scheme. This is a, I made more money doing a duel and acro joust last week than any GM's going to make from hosting in the next 6 months. Sort of salary. So, for you, someone who doesn't have a lot of money or doesn't have a lot of items, to complain about the items you do get for free is like walking up to a soup kitchen and sucking it down and say, "Yeah, I don't like the taste of that minestrone." Well, suck it. Buy your own damn groceries. Okay? Those beggars can't be choosers on this sort of thing. And if you're there for just for the prize, I think you've missed the whole point entirely. This is one point, an opportunity that you can interact with staff, ask questions, meet cool new people, make friends. I mean, I met a lot of friends when I was a younger player. I met a lot of friends and looked up to a lot of people because of how I saw them perform in GM tourneys. And on top of that, I just want to say shout out and kudos to Jusmi for coming up with one of the greatest currency systems and prize systems we've ever, no, the greatest prize system we've ever had ever for public events, the Shiai tokens. Because holy hell, look at everything you can buy in this game. You can buy any item you want if you're a white belt. How? Because money buys no QI items, and basically everything is off. Nothing's off limits. You can buy no QI demon, no QI void, no QI pure, no QI alpha, which is named after us, by the way. You can buy boosters to buy TC. You can buy TC straight up. You can buy a QI. If you want a 20,000 QI custom belt account so that you can have a custom belt and pretend that you're one of us, guess what? You can just buy that. You can buy all of that. But you can't buy Shia tokens. Isn't it nice that we finally have something you have to earn? Now, it is a bummer that Shia tokens that are redeemed for prizes that then can be traded. And I do think that's something that should probably be changed in the future or at least adapted. But it's so cool because now you get to pick out your prize. Now, if you've won a GM tourney, you get something unique and in low circulation. And the prizes are worth a lot more, too. I mean, I don't know what my pair of boxing gloves are worth, but I think they were 30 Shiai tokens that I earned, and I have to assume they're worth a good penny. I have to assume not a lot of people have pairs of boxing gloves. I only know of like 2 other people so far that have them besides me. So these Shiai tokens are the bomb. The GMs are working their hardest. They're just volunteer workers. They're just like guys like you and me. Take it from their perspective. They're taking an hour out of their day to make your life happier. And they don't get a whole lot out of it. And every time they do something wrong, there's going to be someone breathing down their neck. There's either going to be a complaint about it in the staff for them acting human and getting upset when any other human would, or they're going to get breathed down by a boss. There's another higher up. We have a hierarchy system where people supersede one another, and you can get yelled at basically at any time by your superior, and sometimes by people that are below you in staff too. So, trust me when I tell you, they go through a lot just to make this game a better place for you guys. They don't get a lot out of it at all. Respect your GMs. Next time you get a GM tournament, you know what you should do? If you lose, lose a little gracefully, or if you can't muster that up, just get the hell out of the room. Just get the hell out. Don't bug the GM. If you get muted, don't stay there and then cause holy hell and then come and mute evade and then wait till you get kicked and then come back and start all capsing and then get banned and then make an alt account and say this is bullshit and then make a complaint about the staff about power abuse and this, that, and the other thing. Don't do that. Just lose gracefully or stay there and enjoy the rest of the tournament, whatever. If you really want to be nice, thank your host. Excuse me. Thank your host. I almost always do that. Even though I can host my own events, even though I don't have to, I always, almost always, thank my hosts. It's just the polite thing to do. And if you're wondering why we don't use TC prizes, it's because we don't want to inflate the economy. Back when I first was using the forums, a Void or Demon Force probably cost around 450 to 550,000 Tori credits. That's with QI. With no QI, it was probably closer to 800,000 TC. There was 2 major reasons for that. One, there were less custom belts, and thus the Demon and the Void and whatnot were in rather low circulation. But 2, because TC was handed out like it was freaking nothing, like it was water or something. The promo team was hosting tournaments all the time with 7K, 3K prizes, and there were events with only TC as the prize. It became a lazy sort of way to handle events. We just gave out TC every which way, and if everybody has TC, then your TC starts to become worthless. It starts crapping on the economy and also makes it so that no one's ever gonna ever buy TC from Nabi Studios, which is one of the only ways you can support Tori Bash the game. Think of how many hours you've played on this game for free without supporting the people who made it possible for you. And then throw out the possibility that they're ever going to make money or be able to keep Tori Bash up and running. So get the idea of TC out of your head. We use that for big events anyways. Clan League's coming up. If you're preparing for that, so that's gonna give out huge prizes in TC probably anyways. But on that topic, Clan League. If you want to be competitive in Clan League, you better. I'm not gonna leak any information about Clan League. I'm not gonna leak any information about mods or if there's one or multiple mods or how many matches there are, or anything like that. What I will say is Clan League is coming soon. It will be competitive. Some of the best players in all of Tori Bash will be playing. If you want to get a taste of the most competitive environment in Tori Bash, sign your clan up for Clan League. If you're wondering whether or not you should just practice one mod, I highly recommend that you have players in your clan which combined can cover as many grounds as possible, because you don't know if the only mod we play in Clan League is Judo Fracture, and you don't know if we're going to play 12 mods in Clan League. You don't know if you're going to play a mod in Clan League that no one's ever heard of before. So I highly recommend you, if you're not at least an overall player, get some people in your clan that can cover your weekends. Because I don't think that you're going to want to be recruiting people once Clan League's already started. That's probably not going to work out for you. And everyone wants to prove that they're the best. There's a lot of fun to Clan League. I've certainly invested in it big time. I know my clan is as well, Clan Alpha. We won the Clan League in the second Clan League. Was it second or third? Sorry, excuse me, the third Clan League. So that's how we got the color Alpha named after us, in case you didn't know, which is super cool. And I'm really excited about that. And I know that one important topic with us is we always want to cover our weekends too, because players from our clan go inactive from time to time and move on to bigger and better things. So that's a shout out to our newest member. The only reason why I do something like that is because Alpha only acquires new members once every year or so, or if not longer. Shout out to Blue Evil. He is our new Alpha member. I'm sure he's going to rock face, and I'm sure in Clan League he's going to do very well as well. So everyone can congratulate him if you see him in-game. Alright, what else do we have on the docket? We have, just reading, I'm reading past all of you people, I'm sorry. Judo. Is it a luck mod? Well, of course it's a luck mod, but here's something I want people to consider. Judo Fracture isn't considered a luck mod by many people. It's considered to be a rather skillful mod, where you have to work around different handicaps, where you kind of grapple around. You have to make a risk versus reward. When are you going to go in for points? When are you going to try to just stay alive, etc., etc. A good Judo Fracture player hardly gets that fractured up unless they start getting desperate towards the end of the game. If they do, it's because of either a miscalculation or a pretty big mistake. The threshold for Judo Fracture, for you to fracture, is the same threshold for the dismember threshold for regular Judo. And this comes from a quote from I'm a Pirate. He said, quote, Judo is the most calm mod in all of Tori Bash if you're playing it right. It's supposed to be this very soft, calculated dance where you only go in for strikes where you know you can, just like Judo Fracture. And if you think of it in that way, a lot less DMs are likely to occur. But people have this stigma that the meta will forever be stale, and all you do is rush, snap, kick, clap, split grab, whatever, because you have to win in the first turn. And I'm here to tell you you don't. And I'm here to tell you you will have a huge leg up of people if you can just play a little defensive, give yourself some space, and play the mod intelligently without taking big risk. Um, will you still lose? Plenty of times from luck. Of course you will. But I still highly recommend you playing it more conservatively and giving it your best shot. I think that's everything I wanted to cover for Tori Rant here. If I'm losing something, I probably will just remember it in the last couple seconds. That's right. There was one last thing I wanted to say. Sorry for lingering on. With Tori Bash Takeover, the reason I am careful about what I say, the reason I'm careful about the content that I produce, is because I want the content to be very valuable. I do not typically, although it doesn't mean I will never, but for right now, I typically don't put other people up that aren't really good examples of how to play Tori Bash. So I know it's a theme that a lot of channels take where they're doing all bunch of outstanding events that are really good for the community, where you play duels or you run an event and then they'll put you up in a duel against someone else and then you can see yourself on YouTube, and I bet that feels really, really good. And I bet that helps add views and subscribers to those channels. I imagine that's part of the fuel to those flames. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. However, my first things first is I have to keep priorities straight. I don't teach people things that I don't feel very confident in the knowledge. It's one thing if I can't execute, but at least I need to have the knowledge of how to do really well. That is why you'll never see a video from me about how to play RK MMA for a really long time. Why? Because I suck at RK MMA. Now, if I want to interview someone who's good at RK MMA, then that's a different story. Because then I'll be in the position where I'm learning, and you guys can learn from an expert that I can trust. And that's when I handpick people who I consider to be experts. You'll never see a video of me showing you how to become a legend in single player, because my single player is trash, garbage. It is just the worst. I am an unbelievably unskillful single player Tori Bash player. So if there's, and on top of that, sparring or parkouring. I don't spar. I've never tried to spar. I promise you, if I did, it would look awful. If you're someone who's an enthusiast, you are probably better than me at sparring, and you would be highly disappointed if you watched me do it. So why would I put it up there? Now, if I had an expert sparer or an expert parkour, if I wanted to bring on Swex or Begotten or someone like that, then I would be highly interested in learning from them and understanding the appeal for why they like to do the things that they do, and then you could learn from them. But I will talk about things only if I'm very, very comfortable that I'm confident in my experience with those things. For instance, no one on Tori Bash is putting out videos that is also a staff member. At least not that I'm aware of. So you're getting a fresh and new narrative about staff and how staff functions and how to apply for a position and how to stand out, etc. when you ask those type of questions geared towards me, because I've been staff and I am currently still staff. So that's a new narrative and perspective. No one who's currently very active in making YouTube videos have been playing Wushu for 5 or 6 years. I mean, it's not my most played mod right now. It's not my favorite mod right now, but it is a huge amount of experience that I have on other people who are releasing content creation. So that's something I'm really inclined to talk about. I'm practicing judo fracture at the moment, and when I'm comfortable enough, that's when I'll release a how-to judo fracture video. It'll come. I know it will. Because I feel like I'm on the verge of being able to do something like that. What you don't see is how to be the best dueler. Because I know I'm not the best dueler. I know that there are plenty of duelers that I watch interact with plenty and kick ass. You're not, and here's another thing you're definitely not going to say. Tori Bash Takeover, Dr. Hex teaches you how to not rage after he loses a game. Can't do that either. You know why? Because I suck at being a good sport from time to time. There are times where I lose and oh my god, the rage that flows through me. There are so many threads created because I just go off on someone over something as stupid as them beating me and then saying something stupid like wrecked or I got you, and it just sets me ablaze. I mean, I can't do a video about how super calm and low blood pressure I keep when I'm playing Tori Bash because clearly I have experience in quite the opposite. Now, if I want to do a video about how to rage super hard after losing in Tori Bash, that I'm an expert in, and I promise you, anyone on YouTube can't beat me at that. But when I sit people down and I talk and I teach people Tori Bash through Tori Bash Takeover, or if they send me a private message and they're interested in esport coaching or something like that, when I talk to someone, I'm not talking to them like they're an idiot. I'm not talking to them like they're a white belt. I'm not talking to them like they're incapable of becoming an awesome player. I talk to them like they're my friend, like sitting right here, and they're just watching me play and going, "How'd you do that?" Or when you play this mod, what's going through your head? Like I don't even know how to approach this mod. Can you show me what's going through your head right now? And I'd be like, yeah, of course, man. I'll be helping you out. And I'd be like, sweet. Right now, I'll be smoking on that KK. So, I mean, 420 Blaze It. And there's an event going on, 420 Blaze It No Scope. So I have the right friend over here. Imagine this is like, this is some stoner over here that wants to learn how to play Tori Bash. I treat people genuinely enough that they're like a friend of mine that I can give them the real advice, and I don't have to sugarcoat it. If I think a player is crappy, and he really wants my opinion about that player, I'm going to tell him, right now, you're nothing special. That doesn't mean you can't be. Doesn't mean you won't be. It just means that right now you're nothing special. If I think something's overrated, I'll speak my mind about it. But I don't want to pander. The last thing I want to do is pander. I want, for me to, I want you to trust my word because I only have the highest level of integrity when I put these things out there. There's times where I have to censor myself from going off a deep end because I have to keep my job too. But there are really bad pieces of information floating around on Tori Bash about how to be a good player because people are so filled with their biases or their preconceived notions, and they're never willing to test it. And they're never willing to admit that they're wrong. As someone who's going to be graduating in the spring, so, many, many months away, but in the springtime I'll be graduating. I'll become officially a scientist, an exercise scientist. As a scientist, I love to put things to the scientific method, and more importantly, I love to be proven wrong. I live for it. I love it, love it, love it. When I'm proven wrong, it's awesome because it means I can learn from it. And I always want to be learning. So, when I'm wrong, I think it's important to admit it. If you ever hear an opinion change on Tori Bash Takeover, treat it like science, where the newest information is probably the best information. And if I don't explicitly say it, then I'm sorry, but usually I try my best to explicitly say, hey, I was totally wrong about this, and let's go forward and move on with the new information. An example would be like Wushu. I was like, don't put a ring in a box inside of Wushu. That ruins Wushu. It doesn't ruin Wushu. It actually turned out to be the most competitive thing that Wushu's ever had going for it, and now actually people duel in Bakshu Mushu V2. Is Mushu Wushu? Hell no, but I was completely wrong about how awesome and interesting bouncing off of a box is and being effing Spider-Man. And the duelers love it, which just goes to show that they feel confident that it's a skill-based competitive thing that you have control over now. So I was entirely wrong about that. I wasn't wrong about adding a dojo sucks, at least not in my opinion, because adding a dojo still does suck. But a box seems to be working absolutely great. So that's all for today, guys. I hope you like watching Tori Bash Takeover. I'm gonna selflessly name, or shamelessly rather, name this episode. Please subscribe now, because seriously, it's like you need to. That's the only way I can get support is if I get subscriptions, likes, favorites, and shares. And when I get those things, then it's a measure of me doing a good job, which lets me move forward and give out cooler stuff. It lets me make this more a part of my life so that I can spend better and more valuable time on it. It allows me to up the production value, and that hasn't changed much yet. But all of those things can get better for you. The prizes can get better for you. The information can get better for you. And if you give money to Tori Bash and Tori Bash things like Tori Bash Takeover, um, that's how stuff gets developed, because developers need to get paid. And once they do, they can add new features to the game that y'all have been waiting for so long. So if you have that's going to be my last point. If you have a good suggestion, please post it in the suggestion threads on the forums. All right, thanks a lot for watching. If you have a question for me, you can ask in the comments down below. But also, if you want a specific video response where I acknowledge you, go to the official Tori Bash Takeover Q&A thread. Hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the like button down below. Share it. Tell your friends about Tori Bash Takeover. Every time you enter a Tori Bash lobby, make sure to tell them, hey, Tori Bash Takeover is the best YouTube channel all time. No question. And get a bajillion subscribers and likes so that I'm a millionaire, and then I just rain money on y'all. Thanks a lot for watching, and let's make sure Tori Bash takes over.